Okay, I already mentioned this a little bit, but just so that we're all clear, because there are some students that when I put things in as missing, I immediately get emails about how dare you mark this missing? Did you assign this? Yes, I did. So I'm not marking missing at this time. But this is what to do today. So each week you are supposed to show growth in IXL. We are at the end of the week. Honestly, I probably won't put in the growth scores until maybe Sunday. But so you do have some time to continue showing growth in IXL, to continue trying to learn as much information as you can, review as much information before you take your state test on Wednesday. But it's project points for you to show growth each week. That's why you have this tracker to kind of keep track yourself. Students that do that tend to do better than students that don't. And then I know like maybe you forgot a day or maybe you were absent. I don't know. Just improvise the numbers. I can see on my end on IXL how much you grew, how many skills you did, how many questions you answered. So if I see no growth and only a few skills practiced, then yeah, you'll get a 0. If I see that, and there are some people that, I don't know, studied like 30 skills, but showed no growth. Obviously, like I'll kind of be a little more lenient, but I can also see like what grade levels those skills were at. So if you are at, I don't know, a 6th grade level right now and you're doing 1st grade skills, that's probably why it's not growing. Okay, so do the skills they recommend to you, do the ones that say from your teacher, go back into the arena so that it can recommend new skills so that you are showing growth when you do that. Okay, so that's project points. The other thing that is due before you leave today, unless you're in my math lab later, if you're in my math lab later, then you'll still have later to work on it. Hang on to it. But before you leave, you need to put your corrections in the bin, and they need to have for each one that you got wrong, work shown or an explanation. So that's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm having my TAs look for when they're marking it off. And that would be worth assessment points. So if you do not have enough time, I still want you to turn it in. I'll give it back to you Monday. You can still resubmit it for full points up until we take that state test. After the state test, it's kind of meaningless. Like it's still a good review, but I need you to prepare before the state test. So if you turn it in, resubmit it after the state test, it'll just be half credit. Okay, questions on that? There is, however, an optional extra credit that I posted in Schoology should anyone finish early or get bored over the weekend or really just want to do well on their state test. And it's in this week's folder. It says optional and extra credit in the title. And I didn't designate it a certain category. So it'll just be wherever you might have lost points, like maybe you didn't get any points for your tracker last week. Maybe you didn't turn in your packet last week. Maybe you lost points when we did the practice test for you not being able to finish. I will add those points to wherever you lost points. And then if you are an overachiever, you didn't lose any points from our ACT Aspire review and stuff, then in that case, I'll just put it extra credit in wherever it'll help you most. So questions on what you are doing today? Okay, so then since the packets due sooner, like this is before you leave, probably prioritize that first, the one for your corrections. If you need a reminder for how to get into the test, the practice test, the easiest way is probably to go to Google and go to TestNav, like the first option. It'll look just like on test day. We're taking the ACT Aspire. And on test day, you'll get a username and password. Right now, we're just doing the exemplar. So math, early high school, go back and correct the test. I think there might be 1 or 2 that I still have to pass back. The answers without any explanations are in Schoology too. If you want to go take a look at that again, or if you just get it back today, it's right there. But I need explanations and the shelf, not just answers. Questions? So I'll leave you to it, I'll play the announcements, but this is what's due today, so I shouldn't really see anyone have free time. And imagine that. No one's that ahead. So a student thinks that the sum of 4.3 and 8.4 is 12.7 because 4 plus 8 is 12, 3 plus 4 is 7. The student adds 3.7 and 2.6 and gets 5.13 because 3 plus 2 is 5, 6 plus 7 is 13. Identify the mistake in the student's procedure and explain why this procedure won't always work. So a good way to figure out where the mistake was is to calculate it normally. So sum means add. We're adding 4.3 and 8.4. So in traditional addition, like not just using the calculator. Hold on, we're doing that, and then we're also doing 3.7 and 2.6. Okay. So normally when you would add vertically. So what's 4 plus 3? 4 plus 3 is not 12. Okay. And then what's 4 plus 8? And you always like line it up at the decimal point. I mean, these both happen to be just one decimal point. And one number in one place, but you always line up the decimal when you add vertically. And this one, I didn't have any carry over to do. Let's see what happens when we do this one. So what's 6 plus 7? 13. And the rule is that when it adds to a double digit number, you put like the 3 here, it adds to 13, and the 1 you carry to the next column. And then over here, you're adding 1 plus 3 plus 2. So what's 1 plus 3 plus 2? 6. So they were correct in understanding that these add up to 12.7, and this method happens to work because these answers didn't exceed its place value. Technically, I guess you could put the 2 and carry the 1, but like it still becomes 12.7. When it comes to adding 3.7 and 2.6, when I add these two together, it exceeds its place value. Like in each place value, it goes 0 to 9, not 13. You put like the second number and you carry the other numbers in the next column. So your explanation would have to be something to that effect. So identify the mistake in the student's procedure. You could say, since 0.6 plus 0.7 equals 1.3, you have to carry the 1 to the next column. So explain what they should have done, which was carry the 1 to the next column. Ryan, you want to do that, please? And then why the procedure that the student did, which was just adding them and putting them in place value, doesn't always work. So the student's procedure will not always work. When does it not always work? Does it work sometimes? When does it not work? For the first time, when we went through this packet, like, why are we not? It's not fair, like, should I just go sit at my desk and do like other things that I need to take care of? The question is, when does the student's procedure not work? Put it into words, everything you just explained. Lauren? Okay, so when do you ever have to like carry a one or carry a digit? Like when what happens?
When there is more than,
Okay, so the student's procedure will not always work when the sum is greater than 9. Perfect. I'm sure you guys are all smart enough to add. I know some of you are stubborn and are just like, oh, I'm not good at math. I'm never gonna be good at math. I'm just gonna, I don't know, not pass. Like, you can be good at math. It just takes like a little bit of effort. It's not like I'm making you solve the quadratic formula right now. We're literally talking about addition. So it works here when it adds up to a number less than 9. It doesn't work here when it adds up to a number greater than 9. So put that into words. They do give more points when you use complete sentences, when you talk about your calculations in your answer. So even though 2 students could both be right, they'll give the other student more points if their description is longer, if it has examples, if it includes their calculations. So make sure that you have that for those constructive response questions. I mean, that doesn't mean spend all your time on it if you don't know how to do it, but especially don't leave those blank. Come up with something, add up, you know what you're talking about. You might actually trick the person that's reading. So what other questions do we have? What? Bella? This one? So again, if you got 29, write down what we're writing. Like, it's very minimum requirement. It requires no thought for you to just write it down. I would love for you to understand it, but like at the minimum, you should write it down. So here we have Molly built a dollhouse that is a scale model for her home. The floor plan for the bottom floor of the dollhouse is shown below with measurements in inches. The rooms and halls are represented by rectangles. And scroll whenever it has this, make sure you read the whole thing. Yesterday on a different problem, we were trying to find the area and I had it like this, where I couldn't see that there was a 2.4 down here, and I was like really trying to figure out what from all these other measurements was that bottom measurement, and all I had to do was scroll down. Okay, so make sure you do that. It says as your test strategy to read everything, even like the little sub notes. So like you have to scroll to read this. Note that 1 inch in the model represents 2.5 feet in the home. And she added curtains, blah, blah, blah. We'll see if this part is important for this. This situation is presented in about a few different problems. So sometimes they do that. A good strategy would be to read ahead and see what they're gonna be asking for. So they want you to drag the numbers into the empty boxes. So it's saying, what are the measurements in feet of the rooms and hall on the bottom floor of Molly's home that correspond to the measurements shown in the floor plan? So had you not scrolled, you might not have seen this, that you need to help answer the problem. And it's that 1 inch in the model home. Is equal to 2.5 feet in the home. So since I'm scrolled down here already, what's gonna be this dimension in the home? If this is 2.4 inches, what math do I need to do to figure out how many feet that is? of scale factors. At the middle school math thing. Can't problem solve our way through it, Jack? You would multiply, so what would I multiply the 2.4 by?
1 inch.
So it would be 2.4 feet.
Oh, no, we multiply by 2.5.
Okay, good. That's it. That's all we're asking you to do. I promise it's not as hard as like some of you are making it out to be. If this is 2.4 inches and it says 1 inch in the model represents 2.5 feet in the home, then I need to multiply it. And I need to do that for every single dimension, so this will also be times 2.5. This will also be times 2.5. Every single dimension needs to be multiplied by 2.5, and then you have even options to pick from. So 2.4 times 2.5. So remember, you already have the answers. You can provide now explanations, so hopefully you're writing down that you need to multiply each dimension by 2.5 or something to that effect. These sentences. But 2.4 times 2.5 is 6. 2.5 times 1.2 is 3. Um, 3.6 times 2.5 is 9, and that's what you're doing for every single dimension. I don't think I need to do that for every single thing. Hopefully, I don't. All you're doing is multiplying it by its scale factor. So scale factor can be written like that, it can be written like this. Depending on what I'm needing to solve for, you can set it up as a proportion. So for example, they're giving me all the different inches, like they gave me 2.4 inches, I'm gonna line it up with the scale factor inch. If I'm trying to figure out how many feet that is, I can cross multiply. 1 times x is x. 2.4 times 2.5 is 6. You can set up proportions for a lot of these problems and solve them. Just make sure, like, however you line it up, keep it consistent. All right, questions on any others? Once. Twice.